and you're going to be asked to say you know that. So please do. And I'm Bob Blacksburg. Not that there's anybody on this connection who doesn't know me, I think. But I'm facilitating our presentation today. I'll turn the floor over to Joel to begin explaining things, and we will give Joel the center screen. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. This is very informal, but Ihor Khodzhaniiazov, I hope I didn't butcher it too badly, is a musician and researcher from Ukraine who's very interested in Crimean music and Tatar music and music of the Greeks of the Azov Sea and so forth. And he's been in a part of an email group that we've been corresponding the last few years around various things. And I noticed, I don't remember how this came together, but I think I noticed that he did this presentation in Ukrainian and then expressed an interest in doing the same talk to an English audience. So we set a date and I started spreading the word. So I think that's all I need to say. So I'll turn it over to Ihor, and I'm sure this is going to be very interesting.
Thanks so much, Joel. Thank you so much, Bob. Yeah, I'm Ihor. I'm from Ukraine, and I started as a musician. I'm playing bouzouki, Greek bouzouki, for 10 years already. And then I started to also make my own research on the music I'm playing, and I found out that there are many less known sides of the Crimean music, and I started really deep research with my friend from Crimea. He's a Crimean Tatar himself, Rifat Izzet, and I'm a musician, I'm an instrumentalist, and he is a dancer. So together we could find some really interesting things. And today I want to present my theory of history of the Crimean music, of its development, and I'm focusing on the instrumental part of it, and I will start it right now. Starting from the very beginning of this tradition. I'm starting the slideshow. Yeah. But before getting into the history, I want you all to look at this photo I'm presenting. This is the ensemble of the most famous musicians of Bakhchisarai, the former capital of the Crimean Khanate, and they were also the ensemble of Crimean radio committee. So it is a taksim, a tune which is used to start a wedding or actually any big banquet or something. So, as we heard, the music has much in common with if you're familiar with that, with the makam music of the Ottoman Empire, with the Arabic Persian music, and the solo instrument is a violin. While on this photo we also see clarinet, we see a trumpet, we see two percussion instruments, a frame drum called dare, and a bass drum which is called daul. So let's get into the journey and see how we'll try to see how this particular type of ensemble shaped. I will start with the medieval period, when we see the really developed musical ensemble, probably in the first time in the history of this region. Obviously, in the more ancient times, in the Roman times, we could find ensembles, but they are not so huge. They are not so complex. And it's harder to track this ensemble so far in the history. So here is the brilliant fresco from Saint Sophia of Kiev. It's probably 11th century or around that, and it was painted by a Greek team of painters. And we see quite a typical ensemble of the Byzantine cities, which I have numbered the instruments so we can name them. The first would be organ, which is not a church instrument yet. It's rather just an instrument which is used in multiple contexts and in ensembles too. The number two would be a flute. Number three is a player which plays cymbals. And along with number seven, which plays bells, we see that in that period of time, the treble instruments are a separate set of instruments because the tambourine, which has functions of drum and treble instrument, haven't been invented yet. And number four are trumpets, which are both warband instruments and also like instruments for multiple purposes. Number five are kettle drums, called at that time probably by the Arabic word nakara. And number six would be a psalterium. There was I think a mistake of the reconstructors because from the other pictures, the other depictions, we see that this type of instrument is a psalterium, psaltery, which has a huge deck and resonator, and is played only by one hand from one side. It's not a harp. And number eight is a type of flute, probably called Pandora at the time by Greeks. And number 9 is not in the same ensemble, but it's also a fresco from the same church. It's a kind of Greek lyra or rabab or something, a bowed instrument of that period, which is known from Greece, Italy, and Western Europe too. So that is the type of music which was most likely played in Crimea too, because many artists which worked in the ancient Rus state were from like the closest parts of Byzantium, from Crimea, from the Azov region, and so on. So it should show something very close to the Crimean culture of that period. And just look outside the region, but quite close. In that period, on Cyprus, we see a very similar ensemble with even 2 types of psaltery. One is played by hand, one is played with sticks like a cymbalum. And actually in Italy, we see on many depictions pretty much the same set of instruments. So this kind of music would be common for the Byzantium and Italian at that period. So it would be like northern Mediterranean type of ensemble, which was most likely played in Crimea too. But also, except the Byzantine part, the Crimean Peninsula and the nearest parts of the continent were settled, were home to other peoples like Kipchaks, which were Turkic people, and there they gave a language which became later the language of Crimean Tatars, Karaites, and Krymchaks, and other peoples of Crimea. And they had their own bowed instrument, which was called kobuz. It's known from archaeology and a single depiction on a statue, and I reconstructed. I presented my own reconstruction of the instrument from archaeology found in Ukraine this year in April on a conference in Switzerland. So yeah, here you see my work on that on this slide. Later, the Byzantine Empire part of Crimea was conquered by Genoese troops by Genoese, and the steppe, the central and northern part of Crimea belonged to the Golden Horde. And we have a great example of music ensemble played by Genoese for a Tatar Khan, or not Khan, but rather some high-ranked Tatar, which was a name for Mongols in that period. And it's likely not depicting the Crimea itself, but maybe Syria. In any way, it is a type of music played by Genoese for Mongols. So it's likely that it was played for them in Crimea too. We see pretty much the same type of music ensemble in this period, which is 200 years later. We have the organ, we have number two, maybe not flutes, it's rather a type of clarinet, simple clarinet made from reed, which is also could be found in modern day. I believe it's Sardinia, and number three would be the same cymbal player. Number four, trumpets again. Now it's clear that these are brass trumpets because historically there were different types of trumpet, a wooden trumpet, a brass trumpet, a glass trumpet. So at least here we see brass trumpets. We don't see bells here. We don't see any type of plucked instrument, but we still see a psaltery on number 6, which is played with hands, and its shape reminds modern day kanun. And also we have an Italian type of viola, maybe it was called viella, a bowed instrument, which was really popular in Italian music of that period. And it is very likely that all of these instruments, oh yeah, I didn't mention the kettle drums, number 5. Yeah, and it is very likely that all of these instruments were known to Crimean inhabitants, because almost all of them are mentioned in documents of that period. There is a brilliant article by Ukrainian researchers Alexander Janov and Ivan Kuzminsky. Ivan Kuzminsky went to army and was killed this year in Luhansk region in Ukraine. So I dedicate this lecture to him, to his memory. He made many things for this to happen. And what we don't see on this picture is that in this period we also have an introduction of instrument which is called caramella in Italian, or charamella, and in that period of time in the Kipchak language it was called surna, and it's a reed instrument with a wooden body, which is probably close to modern day Turkish Arabic zurna, and is a type of shawm, and it was also played there according to the instrument, to the documents. So we see a gradual changing of this type of instruments, of instrumental ensemble. And later, in the next period, the Golden Horde part of Crimea becomes a separate khanate, the Crimean Khanate, and very soon the Ottomans conquer the Genoese parts of the Crimean Peninsula, and it becomes divided between Crimean Khanate and Ottoman Empire, and Ottoman Empire also makes their own rule over the Crimean Khan, so it is an autonomous part of Ottoman Empire that starting from the middle of the 15th century. The first type of band I want to show from that period is a war band, which basically consists of instruments known in the previous periods, from the Genoese period, and some of the instruments are known from the Byzantine period also. We see here trumpets, war trumpets. We see here the zurna I called before, and we see the kettle drums. All of them were known previously. The instrument which is introduced is a bass drum or Turkish drum, davul, which probably even entered this tradition before Ottomans, but maybe just with them, because it was in that period when it introduced in the region. And also this type of band continued to use the cymbals for making this loud music. So this is a conservative type of instrumental ensemble, which made it from the previous eras to this new empire, new Khanate period. At the same time, starting probably from the Golden Horde period, we have an introduction of Persian-Arabic type of music, which is based on the Persian-Arabic theory of makamat, and it is known that during the Khanate and Ottoman period, it was the type of music which was the elite music. And on this picture, which is not coming from Crimea, because we don't have much Muslim depictions of Crimean people published yet. But this is the ensemble of so-called quiet music, which is opposite to the loud music which we saw before. And this is for music for gentle public, for gentle audience, and has quiet instruments like Persian harp chang and bowed instrument spike fiddle rebab, and other instruments like, again, we see a psaltery, which is still which was probably known in the previous period, but it is now definitely has in common with the Persian and Arabic musical instruments. And what is very important is the introduction of the frame drum with cymbals. Probably it was introduced with the Italians, but I'm not 100% sure. This instrument appears in the images starting from the very beginning of 14th century. in different parts of the world, in Italy, in England, in the Middle East. But in this makam music, it became very, very crucial. And I have an example of the music written in that period. It is a Mahur Peshrev by Bora Ghazi Giray Khan, played by Turkish modern musicians. We have a number of musical pieces from that period in the classical Ottoman music repertoire. It was passed orally from the master to apprentice by many with many centuries of that passing. So we must be thankful for those unknown musicians which passed it to our times when it was already written in the sheet notes. And what is really obvious in this music is it is highly rhythmical. It has very high importance of rhythm and different types of rhythm. Probably this was also for some extent true for in the previous times, but at least in the makam tradition we see that it is it has these odd meters like 7/8, 9/8, 9/4, which is really a characteristic thing in the next eras, next periods. And in the 18th century we have several tendencies which I call conservation, which is conservation of repertoire, conservation of genres, the transformation into something new, and the westernization, which is mostly visible in introduction of European violin, at least from the very beginning of 18th century, maybe even from the last decades of the 17th century, we see that there was a European violin in the makam ensemble, and there was an even particular type, viola d'amour, which had many strings, more than a typical violin, and some of them were sympathetic strings, which weren't used to finger them, and it is known that at that period there was a specific amount of these viola d'amour instruments produced in England to be exported to the Ottoman Empire. And we see a very similar instrument in the picture, in the first picture, with a Tatar musician playing a violin, which resembles a viola d'amour. and we also know at this period that there is a type of ensemble which includes the viola, the santur, which is a hammered dulcimer, or relative to cymbalum European, but is more like comes from Iranian music, from the Iranian tradition. And the third instrument would be saz or tambur, which is a plucked instrument. And what is also typical for this instrument, that it has a name of Persian origin in this tradition, which is sine keman. Keman means a bow, or a like the musical bow, or a war bow, in both types. So this instrument is known as the kemana in modern Crimean Tatar language, because it came in that period from that makam tradition. And there are depictions and notes from the travelers that there are three-string violins in the 19th century, which are played upwards, not horizontally, but are played in this rather makam style of playing. And in this, starting from this period, we see the type of ensemble which we saw on the first photo. It is called chal in the Crimean Tatar language, and it consisted of instruments from the quiet and loud ensembles combined, like the loudest instruments from the quiet ensemble, the violin and a frame drum, and also zurna and daul drum. We see that type of instrumental ensemble starting from the 1790s on this image, and we see it constantly at least until 1840s, at least until 1850s even, because starting from the Crimean War, which happened in 1853, 1856, the clarinet from that period of European war bands comes to this ensemble and replaces zurna, as it is a closer to violin, with its intonation, with its sound, and with its volume. So we see, but still, even until the middle of 20th century, there were sometimes these particular musical instruments playing in one ensemble. But at the same time, there was an ensemble of that loud music, which was called davulcular, or drummers, if translated. It consisted of zurnas and drums. Until the very beginning of 20th century, there was a use of kettle drums, which we see on the first photo. It disappeared probably even before the First World War. But still, the kettle this makes the kettle drum probably the most lasting instrument in the ensembles of Crimea, which is really interesting to understand. And this type of music was the most popular in some parts of Crimea, and it was loud. It was and two musicians were enough to zurnas and one drum were enough to play music for a big wedding. And yeah, it's obvious. It's worth to note that at that time weddings were two-part weddings. There were separate male weddings and separate female weddings, which on the male part of the wedding was a public wedding, and the female part of the wedding was something which happened in the closed yard, or even inside a house, and musicians only came to windows or to the gate and played through a window, so the women could dance too. But if we talk about the difference between the male and female parties, it's also worth noting that until some period, women were, as they weren't playing most of the instruments, they were playing only frame drums for themselves and singing and dancing to their own singing. So the most of the instrumental music was publicly played only for the males, and for the kids, as we see here, the young girls dancing on the wedding, obviously in public. So let's hear the sound of this type of ensemble and the slow dance agrava on the zurnas and davul. You might heard that zurna is quite a loud instrument, and the davul is also something which was really loud, and probably many of you have heard it in the real life. So these instruments were described by many Europeans as something really wild and astonishing, which is not something you might hear in Europe on the concerts at that time. But the second type of instrumental ensemble, which I described before, was still there. It was called kemaneciler, or fiddlers in the translation. And yeah, as I said, zurna was mostly replaced there with clarinet, and there was often no davul, or if there was a davul, it was a European war band drum with cymbals on the top. So we see that when the Crimean Tatar musicians are, it's worth noting that many, maybe majority of the music players were of Roma descent. They were called Çingene in Crimean Tatar. So many of them were serving in the Russian Imperial Army, and they started playing the war band instruments of that time. So they brought clarinet, they brought this war band big bass drum, and also in the beginning of the 20th century, the modern trumpet also entered this ensemble. And let's hear how does this sound. Yeah, as we could hear, the frame drum plays a very crucial role. It is a really rhythmical music. It's a dance music. It is a dance of kaytarma. It's in a rhythm of 7/8, which is a typical rhythm of this part of the world, of like which includes Balkans and Crimea, and also the leading instruments are violin and clarinet plays the very same voice as the violin, and trumpet is used to make this music louder, and it makes pauses not to play all over the music, but to help the musicians sound louder. And still, the musical instruments from that makam elite musical ensemble prevailed until the 1930s, until the 1940s. There was there was already no ensemble of quiet music, but the elders remembered that back then, probably in 19th century, there was this type of ensemble, which included, as I found in the same instruments which are found in the source of 18th century, the violin, saz, and santur, and the frame drum. So musicologist Yahya Sherfedinov decided also to recreate it once again. And here on this photo we see a reconstruction of that ensemble, and but like in the real practice, there were still saz, which like in the previous periods it was called tambur. In this period it's called saz, and santur, like which were parts of that previous tradition, and they were mostly played by either urban elite musicians, which we see on this these photographs, or sometimes the saz was also still preserved in the rural areas, but in the mountains and like rich villages which preserved their culture better. So there were in the other parts of Crimea, they were extinct at that time. Let us listen to a piece. I believe it would be Santur. Santur, sorry. As you hear, it is again this type of music which was called Oriental music in the previous periods, and it's a makam-based music with ornamentations, with the highly developed modes used in this music, and one of the places which still hosted this music was a space of coffee houses where saz and or santur were played still until at least 1920s. But still, when communists came to the rule, most of the players either stopped playing or were poor or died from hunger, and it is really a great luck that we can hear this recording, which, by the way, this recording was made by Emirali Emirov. We don't have even his photo, we don't have much of his biography, but it is known that his wife was a Krymchak Jewish, and when Nazis came to Crimea, they killed all their family. They killed them both and their baby twins in a gas machine. So that's how the last, probably the last center player died in Crimea. And in the middle we see Mahmud Usta Rifatov, which is one of the last saz players, and he was killed by communists in 1938. So the communist and Nazi regimes were really playing big role in disappearing of these instruments and these traditions. And since I'm really interested in saz, I have found different types of this instrument in Crimea. Here on the first photo we see a typical we see a rural coffee house, the village coffee house, which was basically a house, like a regular house, but selling coffee inside, and a musician was playing saz inside and entertaining the man of that village inside. And this type of saz is a big saz or just saz, common saz. There was a smaller type of saz which was called baglama. it had the same tuning, but it was really small, and it had less strings. And in 1930s, there was even an attempt to make a stage type of saz, and to introduce it to a bigger so-called ensemble of folk instruments. And in this photo, we see that the musicians are playing in some interval. Probably it is a third interval. I'm not sure. So for me, it looks like this saz was going by the same route the bouzouki, Greek bouzouki, went later, but it was like 20 years before bouzouki was played in this style. So it's interesting. Yet there are no recordings of this type of saz. There are only two recordings known by Mahmut Usta, which I shown in the previous slide. So let's hear its sound. It's worth noting that this saz has the same tuning and by some extent the same style of playing as the Bosnian saz, which is really interesting. It was unexpected and it was unknown before last year when my friend Rifat and I discovered this recording in archive in Russia. And yeah, we also discovered the previous recording of Santer. It was also unknown before our research. So yeah, now most of the players play in the same style as Turkish players do, because the tradition have dropped when the players were killed or forced not to play. And yeah, it is a big surprise that this saz was closer to the Bosnian saz than to modern Turkish saz. But still, there was some connection in the with the saz of Anatolia, but not the modern saz, rather the one which was authentic and played like until 1980s rather than it's played now. And to end this journey of the musical instruments, it is really worth note that there were the other types of music which were not based on makam, which were rather based on probably some previous styles of music which were there in Crimea before the introducing of makam, and in the instrumental music, it is reflected in the style of playing of two instruments, which are again not well documented, which did not preserve in their original kind of original size and type. They are tulub zurna, which is a bagpipes, and kaval, which is a flute. And let's hear them sound. I must note that this is not an authentic kaval. It's a modernized kaval with holes for chromatic notes, and like it's not. We don't have any recordings of the authentic kaval, and it's hard to reconstruct it right now. And if talking about the tulub zurna, tulub zurna was recorded into notes, sheet notes, but we know only two pieces which were directly noted as tulub zurna pieces in musicologist books. So their repertoires are subject to reconstruction. And it is known that often these instruments were playing in an ensemble, which consisted of two of them, but at the same time, often they were played just as solo instruments, and they were mostly shepherd instruments, or kaval was a young boy's instrument on the beginning of the 20th century. So as it is the last page of my presentation, I want to thank you all. Thank you for your attendance. I want to thank you for your patience. To sum up, to summarize what I said, the Crimean music, which is a tradition of Crimean Tatars, Crimean Roma, Çingene, Crimean Karaites, Crimean Krymchaks, Greeks, and Armenians, which were expelled from Crimea by Russian Empire. They were actually deported in 1778. The Greeks were deported to Mariupol, and the Armenians were deported to Don, which is currently Rostov on Don, and previously there was a Nakhchivan on Don, and all of these cultures were either genocided or just assimilated. Like only the Crimean Karaites were not subject to a genocide, but when the Crimean Tatars were deported during Stalin period in 1944, they were just Russificated, and as they were afraid of talking in their own language, because they were afraid that they are going to be deported too. So all these traditions are heavily endangered, and most of the people from those traditions don't know most of the facts I presented today, and it is we have to reconstruct many of the parts of this music, and one of the important thoughts which I have on this music is that the music of these traditions reflect all the stages of forming of these cultures. We have Byzantine basis, we a change of it during the Islamization. We have mixing of it with the makam music, we have a formation of a very unique type of music with the makam theory, and also it has changed with the influences of European instruments too. So all of these stages reflect the stages where the nations come through, and it's very interesting to study it. Thank you so much. I will open the chat right now.
I've opened unmuting. Michael Alpert, you noted a question in the chat. Perhaps you could share that.
Yeah, my question was in regard to the photo from. First of all, thank you, Ihor. It's a wonderful. Thank you for your great research and this amazing presentation too. I think it's really wonderful for a lot of us to hear this and see the photo documentation, but a lot of which we've heard some things, as I'm sure Joel has told you, but we've waited a long time to hear a fuller exposition of this. But I was wondering about specifically the photo that's up now, the of the musicians in Çufutcale. At that time, was the population in Çufutcale still significantly Jewish? Or has it changed?
I believe on the beginning of 20th century, most of the Jews, of the Karaite Jews, moved to the Bakhchisarai and other cities already. So it was like more, how to call it, more ritual place. And the musicians here were most likely playing for the tourists, which were often really rich tourists, and there was a story that Russian Tsar, probably it was the last Tsar Nikolai II, who traveled to Crimea, heard the ensemble of this Crimean Roma playing to them, the most known musicians of that period, the Ashir Usta Chal. Ashir Usta was the greatest violin player of his period, and they were invited to, I believe, St. Petersburg or Moscow, or maybe both, to play there for that audience too. And even there is a legend, I didn't find any proofs of them, but maybe that's true, that this Ashir Usta was honored with a medal there for his playing. And maybe that ensemble is the one which is depicted on this photo, and we have they recorded more than 100 recordings in the for the Pate recording company, and I believe 13 of them are available in the internet, in the digital form, in MP3 form, so we can hear them sound. There are many notes from the Karaite Jewish community from that period that they like saying that, oh, we used to have many great parties with wine and great Tatar musicians playing for us, and we like to sing our Tatar songs and our Turkish songs. So they named their own tradition as a Tatar tradition. So maybe that has something in common with the fact that Karaites at the time were trying to find their Turkic roots, but still there was a notion that okay, we like this Turkish song, so it is our Turkish song, and we play, since we like to sing it. This is our Turkish song, and there were many actual Turkish songs coming from Istanbul, from Constantinople, to Crimea, and they are still some of them are still popular. So yeah, this formulation, this phrase, "our Turkish songs," has sense, makes sense.
What years would that have been?
It's like pre-First World War, 20th century.
Great, thanks.
Ihor, I was going to suggest if you turn off the screen sharing, we'll be able to see each other better.
Okay, I'm stopping. Yeah. I see you, everyone. Hello.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm out. I don't know. Can I?
Go for it.
Could you just? It's a pity. Could you just play the music from that you played for that slide again? It rang several bells. I don't know if only with me and to my other Yiddish music colleagues here, but it was like, oh.
Which one?
And then you said
last
that there is no, like the photo, the slide we've just seen.
The
You played some music. You played some music with that one, and it rang several bells. I don't know, at least with me. I might be. It was very short,
sure.
but
Sure.
thanks. And then you said that there's.
It is
Beautiful.
It is called Eski Kırım Kaytarması, like a Kaytarma of the town of Eski Kırım, which is a old Crimea. It was a capital of Crimea in the Golden Horde period. So it is like a big village or a small town right now, but back then it was a huge. So.
You said that there's recordings from this more on the internet.
Yeah, it is. I can like create a playlist of this.
Please do. It sounded very nice to at least to my it was sounded like strangely familiar.
Well, it's interesting.
Joel has more, I'm sure.
No, it's interesting because modally the modal move and also the melodic moves. It's like a Freilachs, but it's in 7/8.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I was going to say it sounds like
Because
also
Worm
like
didn't do 7/8.
typically
Yeah.
like the longas that we get, the Turkish longas from Çemil Bey, but most of those are in 2/4 time, and these are in 7. But
Yeah, it has also. I can even find the longer version if you want to listen to it.
oh yeah,
There is
We'd love to listen to more music. I mean, whatever you want to play, I think.
it
There
sounds like
is-
something Çemil Bey recorded in the 20s or the 12s.
No, probably this one. Oh. Yeah, we heard this third part, which is in major. So, yeah.
It's also that third part was also isn't it part of it, or it's very similar to the part in the Havend Longa, the
The Channel
And
Bay one.
yeah, not Jamil Bey, uh
Kev's,
yeah, I read Kevset Hanım, right?
I know, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Lauren Brody, I see that you're out there somewhere. Are you anything resonate Bulgarianly with you?
Bulgarian.
it is interesting that this particular melody is one of the earliest recorded melodies of Crimean music. So, but for me,
advertising on Byzantine about bad supply. Oh, we left 2 hours ago. I put this Facebook post on.
sorry.
102 people in the front.
Coming through that tunnel door, I think please to
I
open
think
doors for
somebody
arrival.
turned on their sound by accident.
Lauren just wrote something in the chat. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like for me, it's really strange. It is really strange that it sounds quite close to the klezmer tradition, like this tam tara tam tam tara tam tara tam. This leap to
Yeah.
to the upper degree. So, but it is a tune which was recorded probably in the very beginning of 20th century, or maybe the last, even the last decade of 19th century, and no one never ever wrote in the Crimea that there is something wrong with this melody or something alien with this melody. So yeah, it is really interesting because the other Khaytarma melodies don't use this Nihavand or minor mode so extensively, though there is one also which is known from the vocal recording of Prisoners of War, and it's dam dara 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 dam tam dara dara dire dam dara dara dire dam dara dara dire dam dam da dara dam da dara dam da dara dire dara dam da dara dam da dara dam da dara dire dam. So this also sounds like Turkish Nihavand rather than the klezmer. So, but it also has this major part. So I'm not sure what to think about the previous one, the eski Karım Kaytarması. So yeah.
And most of the Nikris makam that have 3 sections will go to a major type thing in the 3rd section. And the Nihavent and Nikris are sometimes interchangeable. Well, they turn Nihavent into Nikris and then go to the major.
It is also interesting that there are no songs in Crimea in this Nikris or Mishabeirach or like this mode, but there is a number of dancing tunes, which I think were mostly introduced into this tradition like the very end of 19th century and very beginning of 20th century, as it was like most popular in Istanbul. So this tradition also moved to Crimea. I can try to find an example of that. Joel, I sent some of those to you previously, like a year ago, or maybe something. You might remember that. Let me. Is it this one? No. Oh, this one. Yes, please.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that the modal progression, the seir of that is so typical of that region that it centers on the fifth of the mode first, then it moves to the minor seventh, then in the second part it moves to the octave, and the third part you get major. And that scheme is, you hear that all over and over and over again. We even have it in Kandel's from the Chuppah. It's the same pattern, the same with the, Turks call it the seir, the modal progression. But as we move to Romania, Chernovitz, Bukovina, then that major part sometimes moves up a second or even up a third, but it stays in the same tonality in that region in the south. It's just an interesting, that one it followed perfectly the scheme that we hear over and over.
But still, I found both of these tunes to be like more recently introduced as a genre into Crimean music, because as I said, the extensive use of this Nikriz makam, and it also was introduced with the already the same patterns which were found in other regions. And there was a great question: is it Zeybekiko? This is a combination of two dances. The first one was Ağır Ava or Ağır Ava, which is translated as heavy dance. The heavy dance means slow dance, and then it is added with Khaytarma, which is a quick dance. So there was a tradition to play them in two. There is a tradition to play them one by one, and there is a tradition to sing a fast song after a slow song directly. And yes, this rhythm found here, 9/4, is the same rhythm as in Zeybek or Zeybekiko, but it's not the same as Zeybek from the melody perspective, because it has the longer cycle. The most of the Ahar Avaz has a longer, two times longer cycle of the melody. It has not the just question answer structure, but 3 or 4 parts of those long question, long answer, and the dance itself has something in common with the Western Anatolian Zeybekiko, as it is a pair male dance with the hands risen a bit over the how do you call it?
The shoulder?
Shoulders, yeah, a bit like this, a bit upper than shoulders, and the two males are standing one in front of the other, and there is this type of dance on the islands of Aegean Sea. One to eldermen, mostly eldermen, because this is a slow dance which was more for elder ones, and the Khaytarma was more for the younger ones. What else? What I wanted to say? No, maybe it's just all. Yeah, thank you for the question. There was, yes, sure.
I mean, if you can gather some of this material, as you said, I think that would be very helpful. At least I would be very, very pleased to listen a little more about that. Yeah, more people are. So if that can be done somehow via Joel, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
And there was a comment that sounds like a horror, but I'm not sure what was there. That
I might be completely wrong, but it was the Kaval piece.
Oh, the Kaval piece is something which I said that might be based on a genre which appeared before the Islamization. Probably it was based on the previous Byzantine time dances and songs, because it has really strong connections with the Balkan music, but if the makam, Crimean makam music has ties with the Macedonian Muslim urban music, this type of music, which is not I call it non-makam music, it has really much in common with Macedonian and Thracian music, and there is a dance which is called Horan. This melody is of the same type of melodies. It was a song, and someone created a Horan of this song. It's also interesting to know that the very word Horon was there in Crimea in medieval times, so there is some long tradition. And let me try to find this.
Could I ask then, what is the dance like? Do we know at all, or?
Yeah, we know. Let me try to find Otuz. Yep, we have a film, but without any music in it, so we would need to synchronize it with our music in our imagination. Do we have it? Oh, yeah, it's here. So these are boys and girls dancing this Khoran. They are singing to this, and there were two types of Khoran or jin. Jin means the gathering dance. So it's a dance which is danced in a gathering, and the other name Khoran is from Greek language, Khoron, and the melodies of this dance, both which were sang and instrumental melodies, are almost every time not makam based melodies. And there are two types of Khoran, which one is 2/4 with the rhythm close to Tsifteteli, which tam ta ta tam ta tam ta ta tam ta. And there is a very famous melody of a maybe shanty, or how do you call it, like when a couplet after couplet saying Kayadan endim bugün elimden altın gugum. Kayadan endim bugün elimden altın gugum. Her gün görgen yar sorry yaremni ne dün gördüm ne bugün. So there is one type of with the rhythm of 2/4, and there is a second type which is in 6/8, and yeah, there is a great example of this 6/8. If you have time, I will share it again. It's on YouTube. Nope, it's probably that is all. In this film, the Oh, did I share my screen? Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Do it
I
again.
Yep, I'll do it again. Where is? Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. And I think that was the last part.
Could we
Um,
possibly just hear the Kaval tune one time again?
Yeah, I can even give it a longer version. Is it Mambetov or no? You know what's okay. It was a different, like it is a piece containing two dances. This is a Khoran in 2/4. Oh, and I want to. And again, yeah. And even here, I think you can hear that this is a combination of like non-makam music and makam like elements, which like in the second part, da 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 da, which like had the same patterns as in the makam music too. So in all the parts of Crimea, there are these which I said called non-makam pieces, and there is a graduation of like from makam to non-makam in different genres. Michael, do you want?
While we're still back at the, I'm interested in the clip from the film. So it says Zaporozhye za Dunaiem. So and was this supposed to be showing Crimean Tatars dancing in the film? They're obviously not Zaporozhye.
They played Turks. You know, it's a Stalin era.
Yeah.
The Turks were banned in USSR, so Crimean Tatars were closest to Turks they could find. So yeah, and it is like a unique recording of this dance, because no one else dances it in that way as we see in that piece. So it's really valuable for reconstruction of dances. And like my friend, which I mentioned before, Rifat, he like watches it over and over again to understand all the movements. So yeah, it's really a valuable piece.
Is this one of the things you would call Khoran, or this is, I mean, because it's a different dance than the Khoran that are in more in two.
It's still Khoran, like there are two names of this dance in like different villages, Khoran Ojin, but it is the same dance, dancing like or maybe group of dances, and probably different villages had their own movements. It's not well documented, like all of the dances aren't well documented, and the scene, which has like scene dances, versions of the dances, has only one version of each dance, and they say that after this step we do this step, and they didn't preserve the variations or the improvisational kind of dance. So even in the Aur Ava, which I mentioned before, which is 9/4, it is a dance which obviously has at least some degree of variation, but the scene preserved only one strict type, that after the first hands up movement, you need to sit down and then go to go further, and then go to the left, just single composition. So yeah, it is a one dance, which is considered one dance, and there are like first there are two types of different rhythms, and there are also two types of different like different types which are a sung version or a instrumental version. So all of them are considered as a one dance, probably.
Igor, I have a question about, so in the late 1990s, we received a cassette tape from Marty Schwartz, who I think had gotten his from Zev Feldman, who may have gotten it even from somebody like Jeffrey Wallach, who's here. But I don't, and it had those Tatar recordings on it. And, you know, some of which we've all played and reissued and whatever, but I still don't know. Were those the pate recordings? I mean, do you know the circumstance of those recordings?
I heard them. These recordings are mostly from a session made in 1940.
Yeah.
So these come only from the Soviet era and only from the 1940, and some of them are post-war recordings. The Patay recordings are the sound like that one Nikriz dance which I put on here. Yeah, they played acoustically on the Patay recordings. And yeah, it is a really interesting shift that sound of the musicians which were recording in the first half of 20th century is radical different to the ones that play now, because now everyone plays with the keyboard, with the drum set. Often it's an electronic drum set. It is a trumpet, which is a soloing instrument, not a violin. Violin is almost extinct in the traditional ensembles, and everything is played electrically. So the playing style is not that nuanced as it was when everyone played only acoustically. When we listen to anything where only violin, clarinet, and trumpet, and the drum, we hear different functions of the instruments. We hear where they play louder, where they play softer, and the nuances are mostly lost, like on the recordings, on the modern recordings and modern weddings, and so on. Yeah.
I think Lauren meant it. I don't want to speak for her, but I think she means made before the era of electric recording. So all acoustic, pre-electric recording, pre 1928.
Yes.
No what?
And like starting from 1980s. Not only the drum set from the pop bands appeared in this ensemble. There were often electric guitars, and there was a famous musician, band leader, who was a electrical guitarist, which is and it's really strange now, but it was there. Yeah.
No, what we're talking about is that until 1928, the recordings themselves were not made.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it might have been even post that period, though I'm not sure, not 100% sure, because it's hard to tell what was there on the innovation level in the USSR times, because if we are talking about 78 RPMs in the Western world, they end roughly in 50s, maybe, I don't know. But in USSR, they prevailed until 1970s. So even something recorded in 1960s, 1970s could be 78 RPM disc.
Yeah, no, did you see what Lauren wrote in the chat? Said that it's before the era of electric recording that all the patés, she's Lauren's an amazing expert on.
By the way, we have not only the paté, we have I believe Sirena recordings, and if you want I can start some of those. Let me try to find. They are also very interesting. So. There is something interesting about this recording, is that it was organized by a composer, Armenian composer from which lived in Crimea, Alexander Spendieran, and he was the first one to introduce Crimean music into his composer's pieces, like systematically do it, and do it not just like he was really obvious. Like this piece is a Khaitarma, this is another Crimean piece. So he had a series of Crimean pieces with harmonizations and other things composed over them. And he took much of his material from a family in Karasu Bazar, the city in Crimea, maybe the second largest city in Crimea. And this is the particular family recorded, which was providing him the material. These are sons of Apaz Sandıkçı, which was the head of that family, and probably he was singing and they were playing here. And one of his descendants was a famous quantum physics scientist, which is interesting. So probably this was gramophone recording. I don't remember. Was it Sirena or was it gramophone? Because yeah, that is correct. That there were Pathé, there were gramophone, and there were Sirena recordings put out with Crimean records. And with my friend Rifat, we found the Crimean session with Ashir Usta, the one that I previously shown to you, in the Alan Kelly's catalog. He put an article with that list, but yeah, we don't have any gramophone catalogs or Sirena catalogs, so it's hard to find which recordings were put by those recording companies.
Actually, to come back to what Josh had said earlier about, it's true that sometime, 2 or 3 decades ago, probably, some of us got had a tape that came through Marty Schwartz and maybe Zev as well, that I thought those recordings were made in Berlin by Germans who, when the Nazis occupied Krim, and I mean brought musicians, maybe some of the musicians you showed in one of the photographs, to Berlin to record Crimean Tatar music. Is that true?
There was such a session in 1944, but it wasn't on that cassette. I could find an article with a catalog of those recordings made in 1944, in April of 1944. So it was basically less than a month before Crimean Tatars were deported from the Crimea. So it's really scary to think about that period. And I could find only one recording from that session. It's even put on the internet and on YouTube Music. So if you want, I can put it right now. Do you want? It should be on YouTube. But is it? How is it written? Is it something like this? It should be in my library. Yep, I found it. and let me make some notes on this recording. It is a two-piece or three-piece suite called Beyim Odaman, which means my master is a Odaman. Odaman is a head of shepherds, and actually the first part is the closest relative of Romanian Doina, and it's a really nice, interesting thing that in Crimea, shepherds also had this genre of shepherd lost his sheep, shepherd found his sheep. So this is the one of the versions of this genre from Crimea, and it's really interesting because I only recently found out how that could be. The fact is, during the 17th and 18th centuries, steppes of modern southern Ukraine and partly Moldova, partly Russia, they were really economically valuable if they were used for shepherding, and shepherds from all the nations came there, and they shared the many parts of their culture. So this even this genre is known in the Carpathian Mountains within Ukrainian Hutsuls, and among the Moldavians, Romanians, from them it is in klezmer music, and also it is known in Crimea, but I'm not sure about the other traditions. Like I don't know this genre in the thank you about the Balkans. I don't know if this genre is anywhere on the Ukrainian steppe zone. I couldn't find it there, but also I don't know if it is there on the like closer to Caucasus mountains. It could be, because it is known that Greek shepherds used to come to Kuban, closer to Caucasus, and be shepherds for those parts of for different Turkic peoples at that part. And if you look in the documents of the 18th century, you could easily find a band of shepherds consisting from Tatars and Greeks. Or you could easily find Ukrainians working as shepherds among Nogais. Nogais were a nomadic people, and previously I thought that if they are nomadic, they don't need shepherds to pay, but in fact, there were Ukrainian shepherds, which also sometimes were spies and had and collected military information there. So this tune has this Doina-like first half, and then it became it's hard to understand what was the second part, which is in 9/8, because it didn't preserve in a scenic dance well. But the 6/8 is a Choban dance, which is a shepherd dance, and it is not Choran, though it is in the same rhythm. but it is a choban running in a circle and pulling his stick over his head and swindling it over his head. It could be found in the internet on YouTube. This choban dance. And yeah, it is still in the usage of the scenic dances, but it's quite changed, and it's hard to reconstruct what was those mysterious unknown parts in this music which we don't know. But though there are two authentic recordings of this genre, but made only in sheet notes, not in the audio, and they had only two parts. So the ad libitum part and the rhythmic 6/8 part. So if then we know how it is danced. So the first shepherd is looking for the sheep, and then swindling on, like spinning on the in one position around him, and then he's running in circles and making specific movements, and it's also worth noting that this music originally was played either on kaval or on tulub zurna, which is bagpipes, but it later became a part of urban musicians' repertoire, and we hear it in the chal ensemble on clarinet, which is like closest to those woodwind instruments like kaval or tulub zurna.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah.
As regards the doina and that dispersion that you're talking about, so often we see the word, it's attributed to vlachs. Like we hear the word vulach in Yiddish, and the vlach meaning the Romanian shepherds, Romanian-speaking shepherds mostly. I'm wondering, is that terminology something that is also used in Crimea, that they attribute the shepherd, the whole choban, construct? Is that attributed to what they call vlachs, or do they have, like sometimes you find clefts in Greece, or and there's skaros and all these things, and they're really all related, and they're all like the doina, but the overriding terminology is very often vlach, like vlachikos and such, or vulach. How is that? Does that enter into Crimea?
Nope. The short answer is no, but the longer answer is instead there is a genre of chaitarma, which is in 7/8, but it was a genre which was played in with tulub zurna, and it was called Bogdan. Bogdan Ava, and Bogdan is a Moldavian. So it is actually quite bizarre that this Bogdan Chaitarmasa could be found on the southern part of Crimea, which has nothing in common with the steppe, with the Moldavia. So, but yeah, it is there, and even. It is worth noting that there are some recorded more Bulgarian-like melodies, but that could be because of the Bulgarian colonists settled in Crimea in 19th century. So they could have influenced with their gaida too. And yeah, there is one recording made. Yeah, no, there is one commercial recording made for Bulgarians in Crimea. It's and there is another recording made in wax cylinders in 1930, and they both have a sort of 6/8 rhythm of local dance, oisa, but it's a very, very different rhythm from the Crimean rhythm, and for me, it's reminds more like Scottish rhythm of like triply, 2/4 in triples. I have recordings, and if everyone wants, I can. Where's Oisa? Oisa.
Is the term Bogdan, is that related to Khmelnytsky?
No, it's rather related to the Moldavia, and it was called in Ottoman Empire and Crimean Khanate Bogdan because of one of the first rulers of Moldavian. How do you call it? Of Moldavia, yeah. He was Bogdan the First.
Uh-huh.
And actually, it keeps going this way, 2 minutes long. And yeah, I could try to find the second one, which, oh, yeah. So yeah, it's really noisy, but there is this melody. Dam daram 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 ram ram ram, and probably it's circled after that. And yeah, I agree that not a skillful player, but he was a member of kolkhoz that was important for communists. And yeah, there is even a set of 2 communist songs from Pontic Greeks in Crimea, recorded with Kemenche, like kolkhozika tragudia and komsomolika tragudia. So yeah, this was that period.
So I'd like to suggest, for purpose of sharing, Ihor, that you create a YouTube playlist now. You don't have to put anything much, you can just put one thing in it. But if you then share that playlist link with us as you assemble other materials into it, we'll have access to it. So that if you could go ahead and do that, I know you can do those things. So
yeah, let me create it from.
Just pick one recording to start it. And then put that link in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody, you can save the chat. by clicking on the three dots down in your chat territory on your chat screen, and there's a save chat option. And once we see it in the chat, go ahead and save it, and then you've got your path into that playlist.
I'm not sure whether I created it as a private playlist. Sorry.
You can fix that later. All right, there's that, and the answer is it doesn't exist yet. It says, oh well.
So it is a private.
Change it to a unlisted. I see Sabine is pointing out you have a channel.
Yep,
YouTube.
I have one. Okay, I'll create another one. I think it's hard to change the privacy.
Yes.
For everyone. And now it should be there. Yep. I have
That's
my
good.
channel.
But that playlist just worked. Okay, that's good. So I encourage everybody to make that a favorite and save either open it or save your chat so you can get at it later.
And yeah, on my channel, I have a list of recordings from Urums, and Urums are a part of Mariupol Greeks, which mostly used to speak a language related to Crimean Tatar language, is like a sister language, which mostly the same as Crimean Tatar, but has a substrate of Greek language. Like it is not Kemane, but Chemane. Not or like they have particular Greek accent in their language. Mostly they are also Russificated right now, because in 1938 communists decided to kill as much adult men as they could, because they were Greeks, and communists were preparing for a war with Greece. So yeah. The other part of that that Greek community is Roumeans, and they speak their own dialects of Greek language, but it's only one of those dialects is close to the Balkan Greek. The other three dialects, or the other four dialects, are non-intelligible with the modern Greek from Greece, and are probably rather connected to maybe Byzantine period of Greek or something. And yeah, it's another topic. Worth noting that those Greeks were deported from Crimea in 1778, and both of them have instrumental music of the same tradition as Crimean Tatars and other peoples. But if talking about songs, Urums, which speak the Turkic language, have the same tradition musically and textually with the Crimean Tatars, but Roumeans have a different tradition, which melodically has ties with the Pontic region and with Macedonia. So probably they have different origins, even as ethnic groups.
How do the Dumi fit into that? The Duma, the heroic songs of the battles between the Turks and the Tatars?
It's a, short answer. No one knows.
Yeah,
um,
hard to find melodies there.
Yeah, for me, the closest tradition to the Dume, to the Kobzar repertoire would be two. Galician, I believe, tradition of Hurdy-Gurdy in Spain. It has its religious songs for Hurdy-Gurdy, which are have something in common with the Ukrainian songs for Hurdy-Gurdy, and that has something in common with the Dume. And the second thing is religious liturgical style of reciting of different ethnics, including the cantors of Jewish people, because there are even some in some Kobzar's style of singing, there are even some parts which mostly resemble the cantorial singing to me, but it's my personal opinion. So it's still mostly a dark topic, and it only has some subtle elements which like have something in common with the Turkic epics. Like some of the singers had one note before making the recitation, like so this is something which is found in Nogai epics, in Kazakh epics, Karakalpak epics, and is sometimes found in Turkish and Crimean Tatar songs, but it's not found there. So it's only one element which I could clearly find a parallel with them. So, and yeah, again, Dume have most most of them have use this Ukrainian Dorian or Mishebeirach or Nikriz, but it's not found in Crimean songs. So, so it's nowhere there, so to be traced from there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
Perhaps, like so much of what we've done, the deepest conversations occur late at night and without limit. But perhaps I'll turn back to Joel to thank us. If you didn't notice it passing by, Joel encouraged us to make PayPal contributions. I did that already. I hope everyone else can, even in small amounts. It sounds like a very important cause to support.
Yep, thank you so much. Yeah, for noting that. Yeah, I collect donations for the demining project. It's not my project. It's a huge project from a big fund. And yeah, Ukraine now is the most landmined country in the world. So it's a really big problem here. So any amount, any even amount of your morning coffee is really valuable. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Ihor. This is all super interesting information, and we'll look forward to the to the files on YouTube, and we'll continue the conversation on via email and on Facebook and so forth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been
Thank you
great.
so
Thank you
much.
so much, Igor.
Thank you, everyone.
But appreciate it. I'm going to end it, and have a great rest of the day, and stay healthy, folks.
Thank you.
Best you can.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye bye, everyone.